Today we're on the back porch getting ready to start the roof for it, and thought I'd bring you along, kind of show you a little bit. It's a lot like what we did on the front porch. There's not going to be a whole lot different, so I probably won't show you a whole lot, but it will be a little bit different. But come on along, let's do it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is determine our height of the roof, because we got 12-foot tall 6x6s, and so we need to cut them to be the right height. All right, so we need them cut to 112 inches. So what that will do is that'll take it all the way up underneath the OSB, and it'll be right at the level of the OSB, so that whenever we put our new roof on, the new roof will tie into the old roof, and it will end up coming out and overhanging this part of the porch. So that'll have the two roofs tie together, and then I'll end up cutting off the eave where it overhangs the house up right flush with where it comes up underneath the old roof. So that part of the roof will be gone. I won't have to worry about it being in the room, and you won't have this awkward eave in there. My wife, I think, wants open rafters if we can, and so we're going to end up doing that as best as we can. She talked about wanting like knotty pine, tongue and groove type cladding on the top, on the underside, so that you don't see the nails and that kind of thing from the roofing. So I'm not really sure what all that's going to turn out like yet. We're just going to get started building the sidewalls and get ready to put the ridge, rafter, and all those things on. But today we'll probably just get to the 8 posts that are going to be on for the sidewall. So next thing we need to do is actually figure out where the 6x6s are going to go on the slab. And the easiest way that I found to do that is I know that I want 3 across this one side, and I know that there'll be 3 across the other side, and then there will be 3 across the front. The first 2 will already be done by the side walls. There'll be 1 in the center of it, and what we haven't decided yet is exactly if we're going to build the fireplace, then we don't want it actually centered. We want them off center so we can put the fireplace in the center. That's why we went ahead and bought 8. So that's kind of the reasoning why. We're going to have 3 on each side, and then we'll have 4 across the back, and 2 kind of more in, not 1 in the center, but 2 over to the side. All right, you can see here that we got a line chalked, and that is 5.5 inches from the edge of the concrete over. The 6x6s are actually 5.5 by 5.5 nominal measurements, and so we did that mark all the way down through here, and it may widen out in a couple spots, I don't know, but it is all the way to the corner. And then we did the same thing across the front and did the same thing down the other side. So with those marks on the concrete now, we will take that and we will figure out exactly how far from the house we want the second to be in the middle, the second post to be in the middle. And I'll probably actually put the first and the last post in on the 2 corners, and go ahead and get them done first, and then after I get those done, then I'll know exactly where the center is, because it'll be the center between those 2 posts rather than just the center of the concrete. And that will give me my 4 corners at that point, and then I'll be able to put my 6x6s on there, and I'll show you how I notch those again and everything like I did on the last one, maybe a little bit more explanation of exactly what it is I'm doing. So anyways, just keep watching. All right, now that we got our chalk line on there, we'll take our bracket that holds the 6x6 on, and I'm going to lay it down there. That way it's up against the house and up against that red line, and I'm just going to kind of mark the center of that hole. It's not 100% imperative that it's perfect, because that slot gives you some wiggle room side to side and a little bit this way as well, but the house and the chalk line are kind of the important ones that you'll do. So I'm going to go ahead and go down and mark all of these out. All right, so I was just talking to my daughter about these wedge anchors that you'll see us putting in to the into the 6x6 bases. And some of you may know what it is, some of you may not. But what it is it's a 5/8 by about 4.5 inch long anchor. And what it does is you drill a hole down in your concrete with an impact or a hammer drill, and you drill a 5/8 inch hole, and then you nail this down into the concrete, and it goes down into the concrete just like this. And so as you nail that in, this collar is going to keep pushing towards the top, and so it's going to stay relatively easy to nail. But then once you get it all the way seated down into the bottom of your hole, as far as it's going to go, there's also a washer that goes on here too. And as that washer seats, as you begin to tighten this nut down, it's going to draw this out of the hole. Well, as it draws this out, it's going to push this collar. You can kind of see it move a little bit. It doesn't have a lot of play in it. It's going to draw that collar down because of the pressure against it. Then, my son's cutting a limb down, but then as you pull this down, it's going to open up. See, it's got that slit right there in it, and it's got all these slits here. It's going to open that up, and it's going to expand over this bell-shaped part of it. And what that's going to do is wedge it into that concrete where you cannot pull it out. Once these are set in place, these will not come back out without being cut out, or you break the concrete up to get rid of them. But after you get these bolted down, nailed down into the hole, then you come back with an impact or with a socket or something like that, and you tighten them down. But let me show you what they look like once they're in the hole. All right, so now we have the anchors. The wedge anchors are bolted down inside there, and we've got them tightened down inside there. And now those won't move. Those won't come out. And so that's what I was talking about. We bolt that down, and those things will not move. And they don't take a lot to bolt down. You're not really going to get them to move very much once you start bolting them down. But this here is what we use. It's an impact resistant socket with just a wrench. Or a drive, or whatever you call it. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. But anyways, that's what we use. Tighten that sucker down, and they're tight. All right, so we got our 6x6 up on the sawhorses, and now I know what my length is. My length needs to be 112 inches, and that gets it up to the OSB on the bottom side of the eave. But I was just sitting here thinking, I don't think I'm gonna like that, so I'm gonna take a new measurement up to the bottom of the OSB on the sidewall, and I'm going to do it there instead, because it's going to be a little bit higher, and I think that's going to be a better height. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll do all that off camera. But what I'm going to do is I've got my tape measure hooked down there. I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to mark that mark on here. And once I get that mark set, then I know that's the top of my beam that I'm going to use. And so then from there down, once I have my mark on there, I know that I'm using 2x8s as my sides. Okay, so on this beam, the plan is to cut it. I'm going to cut part of it off here, and I'm going to cut the other part off here, and it's going to create what they call a saddle joint. And so those will be notched out of there, and then the 2x8s will set down on top of this ridge that's created when I cut it. So this will all get notched out. If you haven't seen it, you can see on our front porch video, I actually show this a little bit, but I'll go into a little more detail on this one. So this one it'll have a ridge that this will set right down on. Those will set down on, then I'll nail them right to this board, and that will give that a good sturdy place for that to set. It'll have that ridge to bear on. The weight of the roof will be bearing on that, and so that'll give it a nice sturdy place to hold. And so what I'll do is, from that mark I marked, I will come up. I know that the nominal size of a 2x8 is actually 7.5 inches. Obviously every one of them is a little bit different, but they're all pretty close to that. So then you'll come up and you'll mark your distance there. Once you have that marked, then you know that's the top of where your board is going to set at. So you've got that 7.5 marked. Then you take your square, and you square that line off all the way across there, and you go all down all four sides, and now that is the top now of where you're at. Well, then you come down your 7.5 inches, and that's the bottom. You scribe your line all the way across there. Now that is your seat cut that you're making. So then you'll set your saw to just deep enough for a 2x material to go in there, which is just roughly over 1.5 inches thick. You'll set that there. That way you don't take off too much material, but then you can have that to nail to at that point. All right, so you seen me mark the 2 lines on here. This top one is the total length that it needs to be. It's 112 inches, like I was saying. And from that, I went 7.5 inches, and that gives me my distance down that I need for my 2x material. So I'm going to take my skill saw, and I'm going to cut on this side as deep as I can go. I'll flip the board over twice, and that will give me my next face. I'll cut the line again, and that should get me all the way through the 2x material. The top of it being perfectly flat is not necessary. It's going to have rafters and stuff like that over top. It'll have roofing over top. You'll never see it. It's not absolutely imperative that it's perfect. These are not going to be finished. These are going to have some sort of a finish wrap around them when they're done. But you still want them to be close to right as you can. Then you'll drop down the 7.5 inches. Like I said, was the width of a 2x8 nominal length or measurements, and so you drop down that 7.5. That gives you your seat cut for you to cut for your, like I said, your 2x8 to fit in there. And then you only cut that on 2 sides. I'll show that whenever I'm done. You make a series of cuts and you chip them out. I'll show you what that looks like.
Scoot it back so that won't fall.
Okay.
It did not fall like I was expecting.
I wasn't worried about falling. still see everything okay?
Mm-hmm. And you see all the way to your belly. Is that the shirt you're wearing right now? Is that the shirt that you got for family pictures?
Yep.
Also, I thought you said that. Oh.
See, that's him.
He always has to do it? Yeah.
Huh?
I asked her if that was the chisel that you always have to do it.
No, the one I had earlier was in the other one was in the house. This is the one Kyle used.
Biggest chisel that I could find.
Yeah.
Is that the biggest chisel that you have?
Yep.
I think the other day I saw one like this big.
No.
Does it make chisels that big?
Hold that. Keep it from wiggling.
It's still wiggling.
Alright. Just wrapping it up for the night. I know the camera doesn't do it justice on how dark it's actually getting, but it's a little after 5 and I am done for the day, getting ready to finish up dinner with the kids, getting our night chores done, and I've had the kids out here helping me all day. So the older two are going to finish up a couple of school tasks that they have left to do. Tonight, while I make dinner and my wife's finishing up some work she's got, so we're all just kind of getting stuff done. But I wanted to come bring you out here and show you what we got done today. I know it's not a lot. I didn't have a whole lot of time today to work on it. Just trying to juggle life business on a homestead, build your own home, homeschool your kids, and just life in general makes for a long day. But anyways, let me show you what we got done. All right, you can see this post we've got up next to the house, and you can see where it goes up underneath the eave of the house, and it's not going to tie into that rafter tail or anything like that. That just happens to be where it lands because of its positioning. So that will actually, that rafter tail will get cut out of the way, and there will be 2 boards that will attach here and there, like we did on the front porch. Like I said, you can go back and watch that video if you want to see, but they will attach to there, and then we've got it screwed down in to the into the 6x6 down there. All right, when you look over here, you see that we've got our 6x6 post anchor in the concrete. We got all of them all the way around, and that's where the front, see, I've got 4 across the front, so that's where I've got them. Those 2 are actually going to be around a fireplace, and so the fireplace will go from floor to the ceiling via the fireplace stone will go from the floor to the ceiling, and so that gave us a nice, I think it's 70 inches and 7/8 is exactly between center to center on that post. So that'll be a really nice size fireplace, and then these walls here, this here, and over here on this other side, this wall here will be of course a gable end wall, but that'll be a full size wall that will be all screened. Then what we've talked about doing is putting a bench across here that's about countertop height and on the other side as well, and being able to set up for if we do something like a flat top grill, or if we do like a griddle, that type of thing, we can set those up there and maybe have electricity across some water, outdoor rated electrical outlets there for us to be able to run for doing a griddle, like I said, for pancakes or something like that. We love to cook outside. We love to do a lot of our cooking outside, over an open fire especially, so we're really excited about that. This will be kind of a outdoor kitchen, if you will. You know, outdoor space. We'll have a big table and things like that, maybe a couch and a little love seat, outdoor furniture for us just to sit and enjoy the weather. But you see this pole here, we've gotten that pole done. Now, one thing I thought about after I got it up was, if you notice up at the top, I've got my seat cut facing the back wall. So boards will go in like this and like that, and they will run across to the back wall. But they also have to have some coming in from this direction this way too. And so I just was sitting here looking at that, and I've never done this method before on a room. I've done it on, you know, on like a front porch, you know, like I did on our front porch, but I've never done it on a room. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna have to do is cut that back that way 1.5 inches. And that will allow me to actually set my 2x8 all the way in on top of that ledge, and then my 2x8s coming from this side will actually butt up into it, and it'll still have the seat up there, it'll still have the board going through the middle of it, but I think that's what I'm gonna have to do up there, and I think it'll be okay. It'll be nice when it's all done. But anyways, that's what we've gotten done today, and like I said, you can see the sun is really shining beautiful on that tree over there. Man, that's gorgeous. All right, guys, just want to thank you for coming along with us today. Tomorrow I'll plan on getting some more work done on it, so I'll bring you along for that too, and we'll just kind of keep plugging away at this until we get her done, and keep coming along for the ride. Like I always say, live a good journey.